300 people staring at me. I was sitting on stage, part of this panel thing for entrepreneurs, when the moderator turned to me. So Trevor, what really motivated you to build Trevor Systems? What pushed you to get where you are today? Simple question, right? The kind of question I'd answered 100 times before in interviews. Usually I'd say something about innovation or solving problems in healthcare or some other corporate-approved answer that makes everyone nod and move on. But right then, sitting there with a microphone clipped to my shirt and bright lights in my face, I saw her. Third row, front section, my mother, smiling, waving at people like a proud mom. Her husband next to her, arm around her shoulders, looking just as pleased with himself. And something in me just snapped. Not anger, not even hurt anymore. Just this calm, clear thought, I'm done pretending. So I leaned into the microphone. You know what? Let me tell you why I'm really here. The moderator smiled, thinking I was about to give some inspiring speech. I wasn't. My name is Trevor Warren, CEO and founder of Trevor Systems. We do hospital management software, helps hospitals track equipment, manage inventory, cut down on waste, all that good stuff. We've got contracts with some of the biggest hospital networks in the country. Made me a millionaire, got me on TV, got me invited to conferences like this one. I'm successful now. But it wasn't always this way. I've got a wife, Pauline. We've been together since we were 16. Yeah, high school sweethearts, all that cheesy stuff. Still puts up with me leaving my socks on the floor and loading the dishwasher wrong. She's the reason I'm still standing, to be honest. We've got a son, Jack. He's 12 now. He's into soccer, video games, and asking me a million questions about everything. He's a good kid. And then there's my grandparents, Grandma and Grandpa, Jason and Lisa Warren. Grandpa's in his late 70s now, retired electrician, still tells the same terrible jokes at every family dinner. Grandma's in her mid-70s, tiny woman, huge personality, makes the best apple pie you've ever had, and she will tell you about it. They raised me, not because they planned to, because they had to, because my mother Eliza couldn't be bothered. Eliza Warren. Well, Eliza Howard now took her husband's last name when she married Dan 12 years ago. She had me when she was 19. Single mom. My dad bailed the second he found out she was pregnant. Never met the guy. Don't even know his name. And look, I get it. 19 with a baby? That's hard. I'm not saying it's not, but here's the thing about my mother. She didn't raise me. She didn't try. She just left. Over and over and over again. And I spent years trying to be good enough for her to stay. Spoiler alert, I never was. My earliest memory is being 4 years old, standing at the window of my grandparents' house, waiting for my mom to come back. She dropped me off that morning, said she was going to stay with her boyfriend for a little while, and I'd stay with Grandma and Grandpa. I remember asking when she was coming back. Soon, baby. Don't give me any problems, okay? Don't give me any problems. That was her favorite line. She came back 3 months later, and that was the pattern. My whole childhood, she'd meet a guy, fall in love, move in with him, and I'd stay with Grandma and Grandpa for weeks, sometimes months. Every time she'd say the same thing. Trevor, I'm staying with, insert whatever guy's name for a while. You'll be fine with Grandma and Grandpa, don't give me any problems. And I learned real quick not to ask questions, not to cry, not to make it harder. Because if I stayed quiet, maybe she'd come back, maybe she'd stay, but she never did. By the time I was 10, I stopped waiting at the window. By the time I was 12, I stopped asking when she'd be back. By the time I was 16, I just accepted it. This was my life. Grandma and Grandpa were my parents. Eliza was just the woman who showed up sometimes. Grandma and Grandpa did everything. School plays, soccer games, parent-teacher conferences, they were there, always. And when I was 16, I met Pauline. She sat in front of me in English class, turned around one day and asked if I wanted to go to a movie. Just like that. No games, no drama. I said yes. We went to the movies, then dinner, then more movies. And somewhere along the way, I fell in love with her. She met my grandparents and they loved her. She met my mother once. Eliza showed up at the house asking for money, and Pauline looked at me after. Is she always like that? I didn't know how to answer, because yeah, she was always like that. Pauline and I graduated high school. I went to community college. She started working, retail, office jobs, whatever paid the bills. She never wanted to go to college anyway, just wasn't her thing. We got married when we were in our early 20s. Courthouse wedding, nothing fancy. Just us, Grandma, Grandpa, Uncle John, that's Grandma's brother, and a couple of friends. I told my mother about it. Gave her the date and time. She didn't show up. Something about having to work. Or maybe whoever her boyfriend at that time had something planned. I don't even remember the excuse. After the courthouse, we had a barbecue at Grandma and Grandpa's. Burgers, hot dogs, potato salad. Grandpa stood up. "I'll stand with you, son." And I realized something. I already had a father. I'd always had one. I went to college for about 2 years, studying computer science, but I'd started messing around with this idea, hospital management software. And the more I worked on it, the more I realized this could be something real. So I dropped out, told Grandma and Grandpa I wanted to focus on the business full time. They were worried. I mean, of course they were. No degree, no safety net, but they believed in me. Pauline believed in me too. She kept working while I built Trevor systems out of our tiny apartment. Nights, weekends, all day, just grinding. A few years into our marriage, things started clicking. Got my first big client, then another. Grandma and Grandpa gave me their savings, $50,000, everything they had. I tried to refuse. "We're not investing in a business, Trevor. We're investing in you." Uncle John gave me another $100,000. "Family invests in family," he said. Around that same time, Pauline told me she was pregnant. Jack was born a few months later. We were young, with a newborn, a growing business, but still not making much money. We had to move back in with Grandma and Grandpa. It was tight, it was hard, but we made it work. And through it all, I didn't hear from my mother. Not once. Not when I got married. Not when Jack was born. Nothing. She didn't show up at the hospital. I'd called her when Pauline went into labor. Left a message. Sent a text with a photo after Jack was born. Nothing. Not even a reply. I thought maybe that was it. Maybe she was finally out of my life for good. And then, when Jack was about 6 months old, she called. She had big news, she said. So my mother calls me out of nowhere. Jack had just turned 6 months old, just starting to smile and babble and grab at everything. "Trevor, I have some news. Dan proposed. We're getting married." Dan, her boyfriend of what, 2 years? I'd met him once, maybe twice. He was fine, polite enough, didn't really talk to me much, but whatever. "That's great, Mom, congratulations." "Thanks, honey, we're so happy. Anyway, we're having a little get-together at your grandparents' house this weekend to tell everyone. You should come." I looked at Pauline. She was holding Jack, bouncing him gently on her hip. "We'll be there." After I hung up, Pauline looked at me. "You okay?" "Yeah, maybe she'll want to meet Jack, actually meet him this time." She hadn't shown up when he was born. Hadn't called, hadn't visited, hadn't asked about him. But I thought, maybe this time would be different. Maybe now that she's getting married, settling down, maybe she'd want to know her grandson. Pauline didn't say anything, but I could see it in her face. She didn't believe it. "We'll bring him, just in case." So that Saturday, Pauline and I drove over to Grandma and Grandpa's. Jack was in his car seat, drooling on a little stuffed bear. We walked in, and there's my mother showing off her ring, all smiles. Dan standing next to her, looking proud. Grandma's face lit up the second she saw us. "Oh, there's my sweet boy!" She reached for Jack immediately. Pauline handed him over, and Grandma started cooing at him, kissing his little hands. Grandpa came over too, making funny faces at Jack, who giggled and reached for his glasses. My mother glanced over, saw us, saw Jack. For just a second, something flickered across her face. Surprise, maybe? Like she'd forgotten I had a kid. Then she looked away. Went right back to talking to some cousin about wedding venues. I felt something sink in my chest. This was the first time she was seeing her grandson, 6 months old, and she couldn't even be bothered to come over. Pauline noticed. I saw her jaw tighten. We sat down. Grandma kept Jack on her lap, bouncing him, making him laugh. Grandpa was pretending to steal his nose. Jack was eating it up. My mother didn't come over, didn't ask to hold him, didn't ask his name, didn't even acknowledge he existed. Finally, she started talking to the room. "So Dan and I are getting married in 3 months. June 15th. It's going to be small, just close family and friends, really intimate." Grandma was careful with her words. That's wonderful, Eliza. You could tell she was trying to be supportive, but she didn't quite trust it. Congratulations, Mom. When's the wedding? I asked. June 15th. We're keeping it small, just immediate family, she replied. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Do you need help with anything? She hesitated, looked at Dan, then back at me. Actually, Trevor, Dan and I have been talking, and we want to keep the wedding really small. Just, immediate family. I didn't get it yet. Right. So should I put that on the calendar? I asked her once again. She glanced at Dan again. He nodded slightly. Trevor, you're an adult now. You have your own life. Dan and I just want it to be about us starting fresh. It's nothing personal. Pauline's hand tightened on mine. I sat there, trying to process what she was saying. Wait, are you saying I'm not invited? It's not like that. It's just, Dan wants it to be small and you're busy with your business anyway, and answer the question. Am I invited to your wedding or not? She looked uncomfortable. Annoyed even. No. Okay, no. Dan and I decided it's better this way. You're an adult. You can take care of yourself. She crossed her arms. Don't give me any problems, Trevor. There it was, that line. The one I'd heard my whole life. Don't give me any problems. Pauline stood up. Her voice was shaking, but it was sharp. Cold. She walked over to where Grandma was holding Jack and took him from her arms. Then she walked right up to my mother. Here. Pauline held Jack out slightly, right in my mother's face. Here's your grandchild, the one you didn't bother to meet when he was born, the one you haven't called about, the one you haven't even looked at since you walked in here. My mother glanced at Jack, then back at Pauline. I've been busy. No, you haven't even asked his name. Pauline's eyes were blazing. It's Jack, if you want to know. My mother looked uncomfortable. That's a nice name. Don't worry. Pauline's voice was quiet now, but cutting. He'll never know you. She turned and walked back to me. Grandma was staring at my mother, mouth open in shock. Grandpa's face was red. I stood up. My mother looked at me. Trevor, she's right. Trevor, she's right, Mom. You've chosen awful men over me my entire life. I thought maybe this time would be different. Maybe when you became a grandmother something would change. But it didn't. You didn't even show up when he was born. I was going through a lot. You're always going through a lot. But you know who was there? Grandma and Grandpa. They were at the hospital. They held him. They cried happy tears. They've been there every single day since. My voice was getting louder. And you couldn't even send a text. You're being dramatic, Mom started. No, I'm being honest. Grandma stood up. Her face was red. Eliza, this is your son and your grandson. Mom, stay out of this. Grandpa stood next to Grandma. No, we won't stay out of it. We've stayed out of it for years while you treated this boy like he didn't matter. But this? Uninviting him from your wedding? Not even meeting your own grandchild? This is too far. He's an adult. That doesn't mean he stops being your son. What kind of mother uninvites her child from her wedding? What kind of grandmother doesn't even want to meet her grandchild? You don't understand. Dan wants a fresh start. He doesn't want reminders of my past. Grandpa's voice was hard. Trevor is not a reminder. He's a person. Your son. And Jack, he's your grandson, a baby. And you've seen him for the first time today, and you can't even be bothered to hold him. I looked at Dan. He'd been sitting there quiet this whole time, just watching. So this was your idea? Dan shifted in his seat. Trevor, it's not personal. Not personal? You're telling my mother to uninvite me from her wedding and it's not personal? Look, your mother and I are starting a new life together. A fresh start. And honestly, I think it's better if we keep the past in the past. You're an adult, you'll understand one day. I stared at him. This guy I'd met maybe twice, acting like he had any say in my life. You don't want me there because I remind you that she had a life before you, I said. That's exactly it. I'm baggage to you, right? And so is my son. Dan didn't answer. But his face said everything. I looked at my mother. Really looked at her. You know what? If you don't want me in your life, that's fine. I'm used to it. My mother has this talent of finding men who don't want anything to do with me. So congratulations, Dan. You're not special. You're just another guy in a long line of guys who looked at me and decided I wasn't worth the effort. Trevor. My mother reached for me. I held up my hand. And my son? He's not worth it either, apparently. You didn't show up when he was born. You haven't called. You haven't visited, and now you're standing here and you can't even look at him. That's not fair. What's not fair is spending my entire life being second place. What's not fair is being told I'm a problem every time I needed my mother. What's not fair is watching you meet your grandson for the first time and acting like he's invisible." She didn't say anything, just stood there crying. "This is the last time you will hear from me. This is the last time I will ever talk to you. Good luck with your new life. Goodbye, Eliza." I didn't call her Mom. I called her Eliza, and that hit her harder than anything else I'd said. Pauline was already at the door, Jack in her arms. I followed. "Trevor, wait," Eliza said. I stopped at the door, didn't turn around. "You've been walking away from me my whole life, and now you're walking away from him too. I'm just finally doing the same." And I walked out. Behind me I heard Grandma's voice, loud and furious. "We're not coming to your wedding either, Eliza." "What?" My mother's voice cracked. "If Trevor's not invited, we're uninviting ourselves. You're too selfish, Eliza. We don't know what we did wrong raising you." Grandma wasn't done. "And you," she must have been looking at Dan now, "you should be ashamed of yourself. Coming into this family and demanding she cut out her son. What kind of a man does that?" "I didn't demand." "Yes, you did. Don't lie to us. We heard you. Fresh start. Keep the past in the past. That boy is not the past. He's her son. And Jack, he's her grandson, a baby. And you've seen him for the first time today, and you can't even be bothered to hold him. She made the choice on her own, because you gave her an ultimatum. Don't pretend you didn't. Mom, Dad, please. You leave for months without checking on your son. You don't even call us. We don't know if you're dead or alive. And when you do show up, it's because you need money, or you want to brag about some new man. Never because you miss your son. Never because you want to see your grandson. Grandpa's voice was hard. "Just like Trevor said, we're done. We can't believe you came here, to our home, to announce your wedding, and then tell your son he's not welcome because this fool doesn't want him there." "You need to leave, Eliza," Grandma finally said. "Mom, both of you, get out of our house." I didn't hear the rest. Pauline and I were already in the car. I sat in the passenger seat, couldn't drive. My hands were shaking. Pauline drove, pulled over a few blocks away, looked at me. "Are you okay?" she asked. "No." "Do you regret it?" "No." She reached over and took my hand. "I'm proud of you." I looked at her. My eyes were burning. I didn't want it to be like that. I know, I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't let her make me feel like I'm the problem. And I couldn't let him stand there acting like he has any right to decide if I'm worth keeping around, if my son is worth knowing. "You're not the problem. You've never been." My voice cracked. "Then why does she keep choosing men like him?" Pauline pulled me into a hug. "I don't know, babe. I don't know, but I'm choosing you. I chose you when we were 16. I'm choosing you now, and I'll choose you every single day for the rest of our lives." I finally broke, leaned into her and cried, and she held me. In the back seat, Jack started fussing. Pauline reached back and adjusted his pacifier. He settled down, sucking contentedly, completely unaware of what had just happened. And I was glad. Glad he was too young to remember. Glad he'd never have to feel what I felt. A few days after that mess at Grandma and Grandpa's house, my phone rang. Uncle John. Uncle John is Grandma's brother, successful guy, made his money in real estate, retired early, traveled a lot, but he always made time for family. Always made time for me. He was like a second grandpa, honestly. "Trevor, your grandmother told me what happened." "Yeah, I didn't really know what else to say." "I'm sorry, kid. That's rough. It is what it is." "No, it's not. It's bullshit. And I want you to know something. Okay? Your mother called me yesterday." My stomach dropped. What did she want? She asked me to walk her down the aisle. I didn't say anything. She said your grandparents aren't coming, and she doesn't have anyone else. And would I please do it? Said it would mean a lot to her. And I told her no. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I told her I'm not standing by her while she abandons her son. I told her what she did was unforgivable, and I told her she should be ashamed of herself. What did she say? She cried, said I didn't understand, said Dan just wants a fresh start, said you're an adult and you'll be fine. Of course she did. Uncle John's voice got harder, and I told her that being an adult doesn't mean you stop needing your mother. I told her she's been failing you since the day you were born, and I told her that if she goes through with this wedding without making things right with you, she's going to lose everyone. I felt my throat tighten. Thank you, Uncle John. You don't have to thank me, kid. I'm just telling you the truth. And the truth is, you're family. You've always been family, and I'm not going to stand next to someone who treats family like garbage. I had to wipe my eyes. Thanks, Uncle John. You got it, kid. Now go build something great. The day of Eliza's wedding came and went. I didn't think about it much. Honestly, I tried not to. Pauline and I spent the day at our apartment. We watched movies, ordered pizza, played with Jack, just had a normal day. But a few days later, I heard through the family grapevine what happened. Her side of the room was empty. Completely empty. Just Dan's family there. Grandma and Grandpa didn't go. Uncle John didn't go. My cousins, my aunts, my uncles, nobody went. She walked down the aisle alone. Part of me, the part that was still that little kid waiting by the window, felt bad for her. But the rest of me, the part that had spent my whole life being second place, I didn't care anymore. I was done with her. She made her choice, and so did I. 12 years. That's how long it's been since I last spoke to my mother. A lot happened in those 12 years. Let me catch you up. After I walked away from Eliza, I threw myself into Trevor Systems, and I mean threw myself into it. 80-hour weeks, nights, weekends, holidays. I was obsessed. Pauline kept working, kept the lights on, kept us fed. She believed in me when I had nothing but an idea and a laptop. Jack was a baby when I cut off Eliza. He doesn't remember any of it, doesn't remember his grandmother was ever part of our lives. And honestly, I'm glad. He never had to feel what I felt. Slowly, really slowly, Trevor Systems started to grow. Within a few years, we were doing well. Not rich, but comfortable. We could afford our own place again. We bought a house. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. A few years after that, we were doing really well. We'd landed contracts with 3 major hospital networks. I hired a team, opened an office, started getting noticed in the industry. And now, 12 years later, Trevor Systems is bringing in 8 figures a year. We have clients in 12 states, 50 employees. I'm a millionaire. And people started paying attention. About 6 months ago, I got a call from a local TV station. They wanted to do a feature on me for their business section. Local entrepreneur makes it big, that kind of thing. I said, sure. Why not? They came to my office, filmed me talking about the business, the software, the clients. Then they wanted to do a second segment for their lifestyle section. Wanted to film me at home with my family. So they came to the house, filmed me and Pauline in the kitchen, filmed Jack playing soccer in the backyard, filmed me walking with Jack over to Grandma and Grandpa's place. Yeah, we bought the property next door and built them a little guest house so they'd be close but still have their own space. The segment aired on a Sunday night. The man behind Trevor Systems. It was fine, a little cheesy but fine. Pauline and Jack thought it was cool. Grandma cried watching it. Grandpa kept rewinding the part where I talked about them raising me. I figured that was it. Local news. No big deal. Then the clip went viral. Someone posted it online. Then it got picked up by a business blog. Then a bigger blog. Then suddenly I was getting interview requests from business magazines, podcasts. LinkedIn kept tagging me in posts. It was wild. A month later, I got an email from the Healthcare Innovation Summit. Big conference. Industry leaders, hospital executives, tech companies, all that. We'd love for you to join our entrepreneurship panel and share your journey building Trevor Systems. I showed Pauline the email. You should do it. Good for business. Yeah, could open some doors. So I replied, said yes, locked in the date. Pauline asked if she could come. I said, of course. We had no idea what was coming. Dan saw the TV segment before I got the conference invite. He was scrolling through his phone one evening when the clip popped up on his feed. Local CEO Trevor Warren talks about building his company from the ground up. He watched it, saw my face, saw my name, saw the house, the office, the success. He immediately called Eliza. She came into the room, curious. Dan turned his phone toward her. There I was, on screen, in a suit, in my office, talking about Trevor Systems. Eliza's hand went to her mouth. She sat down slowly, eyes glued to the screen. They watched the business segment, then the lifestyle segment. And that's when Eliza saw him, the boy in the backyard, maybe 12 years old, playing soccer, laughing, running toward me with a huge smile on his face. I scooped him up, messing up his hair, both of us grinning. The camera zoomed in slightly, and Eliza's breath caught. The boy looked exactly like I had at that age. Same face, same smile, same eyes. Her grandson, she'd seen him once, 12 years ago, when he was just a baby, 6 months old, barely sitting up on his own. She'd glanced at him for maybe 2 seconds before looking away, and now he was this, a kid, a whole person, almost a teenager. He looked so much like me that it hurt to look at him. The reporter's voice came through, "And this is your son?" "Yeah, that's Jack." My voice, warm and proud. He's my whole world. The video kept playing, showed me walking with Jack over to another house, a smaller one next to the main house. Jason and Lisa came out onto the porch. Jack ran to them, hugging them both. They were laughing, all of them together. Grandma kissed the top of Jack's head. Grandpa ruffled his hair. One big, happy family. And Eliza wasn't in it. The video showed Pauline in the kitchen. She smiled at the camera, then looked at me. The way she looked at me, it was the same way she'd looked at me back in high school. That steady, sure kind of love. Then it cut back to me and Jack playing catch in the yard. Jack missed and the ball rolled away. He ran after it, laughing. And Eliza felt something twist in her chest. Longing. Not for me, really. Not for the life I'd built, but for him. For Jack. For the grandson she'd never known. The one who looked just like me. The one who had my smile, my laugh, my eyes. The one she'd barely glanced at when he was a baby because she'd been too busy thinking about her wedding. When the video ended, Eliza sat back, quiet. Dan looked at her. "That's your son. I know. He's a millionaire." Eliza nodded, still staring at the blank screen. But she wasn't thinking about the money. She was thinking about the boy. The one who looked just like me. The grandson she'd let slip away without even trying. She thought about that day at Jason and Lisa's house, the day she'd announced her wedding. Pauline had held Jack right in her face. "Here's your grandchild. His name is Jack. He'll never know you." And Eliza hadn't cared. Not really, not then. But now, seeing him running around happy and loved, looking so much like me, she cared. Too late, but she cared. Dan's mind was already moving. He worked at Watson Medical Tech Systems, mid-level manager. Decent job, but nothing special. He'd been trying to get noticed by upper management for years, and now his stepson, his estranged stepson, was a successful CEO in the exact industry his company operated in. This could be huge for him. You should reach out to him. Eliza looked at him. "I don't think he wants to hear from me." "It's been 12 years. People change. And look at him. He's successful. He's got a family. He's mature. I'm sure he'd be open to reconnecting." Eliza hesitated. "He told me not to contact him." "That was 12 years ago. Just send him a text. Say you're proud. See what he says." Eliza pulled out her phone, stared at it for a long time. Then she started typing. "Hi, Trevor. It's Mom. Saw you on TV. So proud of you. It's been too long. We should reconnect. Let me know when you're free. Love, Mom." She hit send. Then she waited. My phone buzzed, a text from a number I didn't recognize. I opened it, read it, and just stared. 12 years. 12 years of nothing. Not a word when I got married. Not a word when Jack was born. Not a word when I started my business or when I struggled or when I almost gave up. But now that I'm on TV, now that I'm successful, now she's proud. I showed the text to Pauline. "Are you kidding me?" she asked. "Nope. What are you going to do?" I looked at the text again, then I deleted it. "Nothing." Pauline nodded. "Good." Dan waited a few days. When Eliza told him Trevor hadn't responded, he decided to try himself. He found me on LinkedIn, sent me a message. "Hi, Trevor. It's Dan Howard, your mom's husband. Congrats on all your success with Trevor Systems. Really impressive. Your mom and I would love to reconnect. It's been too long. Also, I work at Watson Medical Tech Systems, and I think there could be some great opportunities for collaboration between our companies. Let me know if you'd be open to grabbing coffee." I read it, laughed, deleted it. Then my office phone started ringing. My assistant told me a Dan Howard kept calling, said it was personal. I told her I wasn't available. Every time he called, same answer. I wasn't interested. But Dan didn't stop talking. At Watson Medical Tech Systems, he started telling people about me, casually dropping it into conversations. "Yeah, Trevor Warren, CEO of Trevor Systems? That's my stepson. Really proud of what he's built." His coworkers were impressed. Word spread. His boss heard about it. Then his boss's boss. Then it reached the CEO, Jordan Watson. Jordan called Dan into his office one day. "Dan, I heard Trevor Warren is your stepson." Dan straightened up. "Yes, sir. Known him since he was young. Watched him build Trevor Systems from nothing." Jordan nodded, interested. "We've been looking at Trevor Systems for a potential partnership. Hospital management software is exactly what we need, and I just saw he's speaking at the Healthcare Innovation Summit next month. I'm planning to attend. Think you could facilitate an introduction?" Dan's heart raced. This was it, his chance to impress the CEO. "Absolutely, sir. I'll reach out to him and let him know we're coming." Jordan smiled. "Perfect. Bring your wife. Make it a family thing. I'd love to meet him." "Will do, sir." But Dan had a problem. I wasn't responding to any of his messages. Not his texts. Not his LinkedIn messages. Not his phone calls. And he just promised the CEO of his company that he'd introduce him to me. Dan started to panic. Meanwhile, I was just living my life, running my business, coaching Jack's soccer team, having dinner with Pauline every night, hanging out with Grandma and Grandpa on weekends. Jack was growing up, 12 years old now, starting to look more like me every day. Smart kid, good kid. I was happy. And I had a conference coming up. The Healthcare Innovation Summit was held at a big convention center downtown. 3-day event, panels, keynote speakers, networking sessions, the whole deal. I was scheduled for day 2, entrepreneurship panel. Me and 3 other CEOs talking about building companies in the healthcare tech space. Pauline came with me, left Jack with Grandma and Grandpa for the day. We got to the convention center early, checked in, got my speaker badge. The panel was at 2 in the afternoon. We had some time, so Pauline and I walked around, checked out some of the vendor booths, grabbed coffee. Around 1:15, we were standing near the main hall when I heard a familiar voice. "Yes, that's him. That's Trevor, my son." I froze. I turned slowly, and there she was, Eliza, standing about 20 feet away, talking to a small group of people, pointing at a poster with my face on it. One of those conference promo things. Featured speaker, Trevor Warren, CEO of Trevor Systems. Dan was next to her, nodding along. "We're so proud of him. He's done so well for himself." One of the women in the group looked impressed. "Wow, you must be so excited to see him speak." "Oh, we are." Dan jumped in. "I've known Trevor since he was young. Watched him build his company from nothing. Really incredible." I felt Pauline's hand tighten on my arm. "Are you seeing this?" "Yeah." My jaw clenched. We watched them for another minute. Eliza laughing, shaking hands, playing the proud mother. Dan talking about how close we were, how he'd always believed in me. It made me sick. "Come on." Pauline's voice was quiet. "Let's get out of here before they see you." We turned to walk the other way, but it was too late. "Trevor." I stopped, closed my eyes, took a breath. Eliza was walking toward us, fast, smiling, arms slightly open like she was about to hug me. Dan was right behind her. I turned to face them. Didn't move toward them, just stood there. "Trevor, oh my God, hi!" She was a little breathless. "I didn't know you'd be here early. We were just, we're so excited to hear you speak." I didn't say anything. "You look great. Doesn't he look great, Dan?" "Yeah, you look good, Trevor. Congrats on all the success. Really impressive." I stared at them. Eliza's smile faltered slightly. "So, your panel is at 2, right? We got here early to get good seats. We're in the front row." Of course they were. Dan nodded. "We've been telling everyone about you. Everyone's really excited to hear what you have to say." Pauline stepped closer to me. I could feel her anger radiating off her. Before I could say anything, someone from the event staff walked up. "Trevor Warren?" She was checking her clipboard. "Yeah, that's me." "Great, we're about to start boarding the panelists backstage. Can you come with me?" "Yeah, let's go." I looked at Eliza, looked right at her. She was still smiling, waiting for me to say something. Acknowledge her, hug her, something. I walked past her, didn't say a word, didn't even look at her, just walked past her like she wasn't there. "Trevor?" I kept walking. Pauline followed me. As we passed, she leaned close to Eliza. "You've got a lot of nerve showing up here." Then she caught up with me. Behind us, I heard Eliza say something to Dan, heard him try to reassure her. But I didn't turn around. The staff member led me backstage. Pauline squeezed my hand. "You okay?" "No, but I will be." Backstage, I met the other panelists, tried to focus, tried to calm down, but all I could think about was her out there. sitting in the front row, smiling, acting like she had any right to be proud. At 1:45, someone came to get us. "All right, gentlemen, we're about to start. Follow me." We walked out onto the stage. The room was packed, maybe 300 people, rows of seats all filled, people standing in the back. I scanned the crowd quickly, looking for Pauline. Found her in the third row from the back. She gave me a little wave, and then I saw them. Front row, third section from the left. Eliza and Dan, sitting right there, smiling up at the stage like proud family members. I felt my jaw tighten. The moderator started introducing us. I barely heard what she was saying. I glanced back at the audience. Eliza was whispering to the woman next to her, gesturing toward me, probably saying, "That's my son." Dan was leaning over to the man on his other side, talking, nodding toward the stage, probably saying, "That's my stepson." They were working the room, using my name, my success, like they had anything to do with it. The panel started, questions and answers. I responded when it was my turn, talked about the business, about scaling, about finding clients, but the whole time I could feel them watching me. Halfway through, I saw Dan whisper something to an older man sitting next to him. The man looked up at me, nodded, smiled. I didn't know who he was, but I had a bad feeling. And then, near the end of the panel, the moderator turned to me. "Trevor, I want to ask you something a bit more personal, if that's okay." I nodded. "Sure. You've had a lot of success in a relatively short amount of time. What really motivated you to build Trevor Systems? What pushed you to get where you are today?" Simple question, the kind I'd answered 100 times. I could give the safe answer. Innovation, problem solving, making a difference. But I looked at Eliza sitting in the front row, smiling, like she'd been there all along. And I was done. I leaned forward. That's a tough question for me, because my answer isn't the feel-good story people usually expect. The room went quiet. I was raised by my grandparents. My mother had me when she was 19, and throughout my childhood she made it very clear that her romantic relationships came first. She'd leave me with my grandparents for weeks, sometimes months, to be with whatever boyfriend she had at the time. I could feel people shifting in their seats. 12 years ago, my mother got engaged. I was married by then, had a baby son, and she came to my grandparents' house and told me, to my face, that I wasn't invited to her wedding. Said I was an adult, I could take care of myself. I paused, looked right at her, and not to give her any problems. Eliza's face went pale. Her fiancé, now her husband, didn't want me there, didn't want any reminders of her past. And she was fine with that. She'd never even met my son. He was 6 months old. She'd seen him for the first time that day and couldn't even be bothered to hold him, to ask his name, to acknowledge he existed. The room was dead silent. So I looked at her that day and I said, "This is the last time you will hear from me. This is the last time I will ever talk to you. Good luck with your new life." I let that sink in. I stopped calling her mom that day, started calling her by her first name, because she lost the right to that title. Dan was frozen in his seat. That was 12 years ago. I moved on, built my business, watched my son grow up. My son who she's never known. Not really. She saw him once as a baby and looked right through him like he wasn't there. She didn't hear from me when he started walking, when he said his first word, when he started school, when he made the soccer team. Nothing. I gestured toward the front row, until I started getting media attention for Trevor Systems. Then she reached out, not to apologize, not to ask about her grandson, just to say she was proud of me. Eliza looked like she wanted to disappear. I didn't respond. I reinforced the boundary I'd set 12 years ago. And when I saw them here today, before the panel, I walked right past her. Didn't say a word, because I have nothing to say to her. I looked back at the moderator. So to answer your question, what motivated me? Proving to myself that I was worth more than she made me feel, and building a family with people who actually show up. My grandparents, my wife, my son, people who chose me, people who stayed. The room was silent for what felt like forever. Then someone in the back started clapping. Then another person. Then the whole room stood up. Applause. Real applause. I sat back, took a breath. The moderator looked at me, clearly moved. "Thank you for sharing that, Trevor. That takes a lot of courage." I nodded. The panel wrapped up a few minutes later. We stood, shook hands, walked off stage. I didn't look at Eliza or Dan. I walked straight to Pauline. She threw her arms around me. "I'm so proud of you. I can't believe I just did that," I said. "You did the right thing." We turned to leave, and that's when I saw him, an older man in a suit, walking toward us, the same man who'd been sitting next to Dan in the front row. "Trevor Warren?" He extended his hand. I shook it cautiously. "Yeah, that's me. Jordan Watson, CEO of Watson Medical Tech Systems." My stomach sank. I wanted to introduce myself. "I've been looking into Trevor Systems for a potential partnership. Your software is exactly what we need. Thank you." Jordan glanced back toward the front row, where Dan and Eliza were still sitting, looking shell-shocked. "I have to be honest with you. Dan Howard works for me. He told me you were his stepson, said you two were close. That's actually why I'm here. He said he'd facilitate an introduction." I didn't say anything. But after what you just shared on that stage, I'm realizing Dan wasn't exactly truthful with me. "No, he wasn't," Jordan nodded slowly. "I appreciate your honesty up there. That took guts, and I respect that." He paused. "But I'm going to be straight with you, Trevor. As much as I'd love to explore a partnership with Trevor Systems, I can't move forward with it. Not while Dan works for me." I frowned. "Why not?" "Conflict of interest. Or at least, it would look like one. If I do a deal with you while your stepfather is on my payroll, people will talk. They'll say we gave you preferential treatment because of the family connection, even though clearly there is no connection." He sighed. "I can't put my company in that position. I'm sure you understand." I did understand. And honestly, I didn't even care about the deal anymore. "I get it. No hard feelings." Jordan smiled. "I appreciate that, and for what it's worth, your son is lucky to have you." My throat tightened. "Thank you. That means a lot." Jordan shook my hand one more time, nodded at Pauline, and walked away. Pauline looked at me. "You okay?" "Yeah. Let's get out of here." We walked toward the exit. On the way out, I saw Eliza and Dan standing near the doors, waiting. Eliza's eyes were red. Dan looked pale. Eliza stepped forward. I kept walking. "Trevor, please." I stopped, turned around. "I meant what I said up there. This is done. Don't contact me again." "Trevor, I'm sorry." "I don't care. I don't care if you're sorry. I don't care if you're proud. I'm done." I looked at Dan. "And you, using my name to impress your boss? Telling people we're close? That's pathetic." Dan opened his mouth, closed it, said nothing. I turned back to Pauline. "Let's go." And we left. That was 6 months ago. The video of my speech went viral. Someone in the audience recorded it and posted it online. Within a week, it had millions of views. The comments were mixed. Half the people said I was brave, said I was right to set boundaries. The other half said I was cruel, said family is family, said I should forgive her. I didn't read most of them, didn't need to. I knew what I did was right. Trevor Systems kept growing. We landed 3 new contracts in the months after the conference. Turns out a lot of people respected the honesty. We hired 10 more people, opened a second office, started expanding into new states. Business was good, life was good. Jack turned 12. Well, he's almost 13 now. We threw him a party at the house. Grandma made her apple pie. Grandpa told his terrible jokes. Uncle John showed up with a check for Jack's college fund. I never heard from Eliza again after the conference. No calls, no texts, no emails. I was done. A few months later, Pauline heard through someone that Dan's career at Watson Medical Tech didn't go so well after the conference. Jordan Watson didn't fire him, but he didn't promote him either. Dan's reputation took a hit. People knew he'd lied about being close with me. I didn't feel bad for him. Why would I? One Saturday, I was sitting on Grandma and Grandpa's porch. Jack was in the backyard playing with Grandpa. Grandma came out and sat next to me. She told me she was proud of me, for standing up for myself, for telling the truth. Then she said she thought I turned out exactly the way I was supposed to. Not because of Eliza. In spite of her. I liked that. That night, after we got home, I tucked Jack into bed. Well, he's getting too old for tucking in, but he still lets me say goodnight. He told me he was glad I was his dad, said we were a good family. He was right about that too. Pauline asked me if I was happy. I thought about it, really thought about it. I thought about Jack, about Grandma and Grandpa, about Uncle John, about the business, about the life we'd built. And I realized something. For the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for anything. I wasn't waiting for my mother to choose me. I wasn't waiting to prove I was good enough. I wasn't waiting to feel whole. I already was. Yeah, I'm happy. My name is Trevor Warren, CEO of Trevor Systems, husband, father, grandson. I was raised by people who chose to love me, who showed up, who stayed, and I built a life with people who do the same. My mother made her choice a long time ago, and I finally made mine. I chose me, and I chose the family that chose me back.
If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Don't forget to follow for more content just like this. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.